Are you pushing the stream? It's still not. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's up. Yep.
Championship. We're coming to you live from beautiful Red Bull Ring, Austria, for the last round of this season's Formula C Championship. I'm Matthew Nordberg. Joining me up in the booth for the final time this season is Keith Brubaker. We're in for a great race here in the Styrian Hills of Austria tonight. Current temperature 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp at about 104 degrees Fahrenheit, so not too cold out there as we enter the winter months here. Keith, it's going to be a fun race to watch to crown some champions tonight.
Yes, indeed it is. Red Bull Ring is a really fun track. It's a little short, but you know what? Short tracks do breed some very fun racing, and especially if you look at Formula One, for an example, they go here. You see them running into lap traffic all the time. So, yes, we may not run as long as Formula One does, but we do indeed see these guys putting in fast lap times, and I do see some very fun lap traffic dilemmas and action alongside that.
Yeah, for sure. This track only 2.66 miles, one of the shortest tracks on the calendar. Only 10 turns around this place, so should provide for some bull ring-like action here on the road course side of things here in the CIL. We crowned a champion on Monday night in the College Cup Series. It's time to crown a couple more champions tonight here in the Formula C Series. Our student champion, though, already decided. That is the one and only Muhammad Alif right now out of Ball State University. He had a great season, right, and he's hoping to finish out the season with another couple of wins here.
Yeah, indeed, and that's what I'm going to be very curious to see coming off of the, I don't know if it was a disappointing result, but the result that was him not winning last week. I'll be very curious to see how does he react to such a, I guess it may have been a little bit disappointed race at the Ball State side. But speaking of him, we are currently seeing him on the track right now, getting ready to set his qualifying lap as we're getting ready to start these 12 minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, for sure, but I think the first driver out on track, Thomas Toomey, hoping to clinch the Alumni Championship tonight for the University of Virginia, riding on board with the 166 car coming up to the start-finish line to start his lap here. Keith, take us through a lap at the Red Bull Ring.
So it's a very short track, as Matt was saying earlier, so we're going to come up here. You want to start slowing down. You want to take this corner as close to that apex, run along that sausage curve, but don't go over it as it could damage your car. You're going to continue to accelerate past that AlphaTauri sign. You want to run as far as you can to that right side, and as you're coming up to this turn, you want to come up here. This is a very hard braking zone as you want to get down to second gear, sometimes even first gear, to get around that tight corner. And again, sausage curve, you want to ride that sausage curve, but not go over it or go under it, and then back on that throttle again. And we're just going to be straight on that throttle as we're coming down to one of these back turns, which is another heavy braking zone. We're going to brake around the 50 mark, slow down into third or second, eat the curb. You're going to want to continue to ride the curbing as you're getting ready to come into another, not as harsh turn, but it's still a relatively harder turn. You want to go on the curb. You want to downshift into fourth, the 50 marker, and ride as close to that left side as you can and come out on the curbing. And again, ride the curbing like every track this season. You want to go as wide as possible to get as much acceleration. And along that, you want to be on the gas. You want to trust your downforce. We're going to continue. We're getting ready to come into some of the more tricky sections, back sections here. So you want to brake a little bit, but not too bad. You want to come through this corner. You want to go as far in this corner, and you can go that far, but you want to stay on the curbs. And it's the initial turn where you see a lot of chaos happening. And then we're coming to the front straight, and that's a lap around Austria.
Yeah, the Red Bull Ring, a very tricky track right now, as across the line our drivers come for their first flying laps. And Muhammad Ali from Ball State, top of the timing tower after one lap, getting a little bit of a slipstream from the car in front of Thomas Toomey. Current best time of a 1:31.918, but I'm sure we will see that time fall over the course of a qualifying session. A couple other Ball State drivers in this field. Cale Davidson, currently about a second behind his teammate, sitting in the 4th position. And Robert Kiesel Jr. just set a lap time of a 1:32, 1:33. But one thing to note is that it's so easy to go off the track here. We saw those last 2 corners, turns 9 and 10. Very high speed, not a lot of runoff. It's super easy to go off track and get your lap time invalidated.
Yeah, indeed. And as many of you guys, I guess I'm not sure what our fan base is for Formula One, but we've had a very interesting season here with Formula One, with those off tracks being a huge factor. And with iRacing, there's could probably be no exception, as iRacing lines are rather harsh. Even coming into this season, the iRacing lines are going to be very harsh. So it's going to be very interesting seeing how these lines go. We're sitting on board on Muhammad Ali's teammate, Cale Davison, who doesn't look like they may have put a very good lap time in, as they're probably going to try to catch up to their championship-winning teammate up front. And these lap times at this track, mistakes are very, capitalized on this track. And if you make a little mistake, your lap time is going to be thrown to the wind, unfortunately.
Yeah, I see at the bottom of your screen we have a couple of lap times coming in across the board. Alexander Diamond right now, 2 green sectors, as well as Cale Davidson, 2 personal bests, but did he go wide in that last corner? We'll have to see as he crosses the line. A session best, I should say, put Cale Davidson up into the 2nd position, about 3.5 tenths behind his Ball State teammate, so a very good last sector out of that Ball State driver. A couple other drivers crossing the line now. Zach Lindler out of Lennar Ryan University, trying to get his first time on the board for in that 37 car. He's got a personal best in the 1st sector. Not as good in the middle sector, but can he finish it out across the line in the last sector? Looks like he could not improve, and I don't think he was able to have a valid time. He must have gone off the track somewhere.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I wonder if that was the last sector. Like I was saying, that last turn is super, super tricky, especially when you're pushing the car to the absolute limits with those speeds. And anything is possible. He's going to go back around and try to get times in. And looking down at the bottom there, it does look like Alif is improving his time a little bit with a purple 1st sector, a.k.a. best sector of the session. So I guess Alif might have a little bit more in him, as his teammate did impress earlier, but Alif might put that lap time to bed.
Yeah, can our Muhammad Ali improve upon his current pole position lap time of a 1:31.9? Not a great middle sector. He goes a little bit wide in the last corner, turn 10. On to the straightaway, can he set a personal best? And he can't do a personal best overall, but a session best 1st and 3rd sector. That middle sector really let him down there.
Yeah, it did indeed. I mean, I was expecting to go a little wide, but it's interesting to see the lines. We're currently sitting on board, I believe, if things are right, our alum winner over in Cup Series, Jake Cummings. And he's currently sitting 5th in position, about 2nd off of Alif. So it'll be interesting to see if he can be able to make up that time, as I know him and Alif have been battling very consistently over the season on the track. So I'm hopeful for the battles that he's going to be able to get his times up there, and we can continue to see some very good battles between him and Alif.
Yeah, for sure. As we see in your time at the bottom of your screen, Louis Diaz just set a personal best lap time. Puts himself up into 2nd position. 3 very good sectors, all green for him. Put him about 3 tenths behind our leader of our Muhammad Leaf right now. Robert Kiesel Jr., not a good lap. 2 yellow sectors, 1 green. That's not going to improve his time. As we see Jake Cummings still making his way around. I believe that was turn 5 and into turn 6 and 7 here in the middle sector. Very tricky, almost off-camber, blind corners that makes it really difficult to place the car properly. And if you get on that gas too early, you're going to end up in the gravel on the outside of the track.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with this track, is that mistakes are punished. Looking up there a little bit, doesn't look like, as you're saying, Louis Diaz is put up there, but also I want to point out that Bradley Skinker just put in a nice lap time too. Looking at the timing charts, as those Ball State drivers are continuing with that dominance, but looking down below, it doesn't look like many of these drivers, unfortunately, are improving. So some of these lap times, we're going to start seeing a little bit of desperation. As I say that, Lucas Moody from Ball State University puts himself in 5th position. So these cars are only just heating up, and we're getting closer and closer to finalizing this grid. It's going to be interesting, as these lap times are about 1.5 minutes, so we still have another about 4 minutes left of qualifying. So anything is possible as we're constantly seeing those times come in and out. And like I was saying before, unfortunately, a lot of these guys are getting yellow sectors, so maybe some of these lap times aren't just coming together.
Yeah, we see Athena Leclerc coming through the last couple of corners now for St. Clair College, the 61 car. Through the final corner, that is definitely going to be an off track. She will have her lap time deleted, and she's not even going to finish the lap. She'll pull back into the pits. But you mentioned Bradley Skinker just improved on his lap time 1 lap ago, and he's already back around to the final 2 corners now to complete another lap. Can he put himself any closer to his teammate of Muhammad Ali through these final 2 corners? Right now, he has a personal best in middle sectors. Ricky Paz has a personal best lap in 16th right now, and then Bradley Skinker across the line looks like he will jump up to the 5th position, about 5/10 behind Muhammad Ali right now.
Yeah, and these times are looking. Oh, that's an unfortunate spin right there for the number 4 car, Bradley Skinker, and that might be the end of his qualifying session, unfortunately. But looking at some of these times, some of these guys are starting to find pace. I saw Timothy Willems was all green. I see Alex Hallinar is green. Lucas Moody's got a green sector. So these lap times, these guys are starting to get comfortable with these cars, and I know that their tires might be breaking in a little bit, so they might be getting to that stage where these cars are feeling very comfortable to maybe do a little bit more of a dive bomb move. Speaking of Alex Hallinar, it does look like he put himself in 8th position, which is a rather impressive position to put, especially how close this field is.
Yeah, for sure. He just crossed the line and went off the track there in turn 1, so he will not get another lap in potentially before the end of qualifying, but we'll have to see. Another driver still out there trying to make some lap time. Aiken Lamar from Howard trying to do his best right now. He's in the 94 car at the moment, making his way through the middle sector. Currently sitting 18th, but still plenty of time to get back around and improve his current lap time, as we see Robert Kiesel Jr. currently on a personal best. Where will he finish? 2 green sectors so far. Will he jump to the top of the timing towers? Have to see as he crosses the line now. A very good lap, but it only puts him 13th, so not a great lap from Kiesel Jr. We've seen him on the podium a few times this season. Maybe not his track or not his night right now for the FIU driver.
Yeah, indeed. Sometimes the track combination isn't right. I know before the cast, I was doing a little bit of research. A couple of these kids, I'm actually surprised regarding the kids, the students, are actually having finals this week. So some of these drivers may not have been able to focus, as most of these drivers' education does come first. So some of these drivers may not have that same practice time that they have in the past. But we're still seeing a lot of these college athletes participating in, and as we're sitting on board, I believe that's Lucas Moody, who's coming through. Unfortunately, doesn't improve their time, but still, Moody is still sitting at a relatively respective 6th position.
Yeah, for sure, and we're getting down to crunch time here in qualifying. Lucas Moody makes a spin in turn 1. That's going to, I think he might have had enough time to finish another lap, but that's going to do it for him in qualifying. A few of the drivers out on track still. Alexander Diamond from Drexel University just came through turn 1. There's only about 30 seconds left in the qualifying session. He will not complete a lap. Looks like towards the back end of the track, there are a couple of the drivers who might be able to finish, including Louis Diaz, who's coming through the final 2 corners right now with his FIU teammate of, I believe that is Esteban Munoz, in front of him at the moment. So we'll see if that draft can help him get through the corners. It looks like Louis Diaz a little bit wide there. He's the 2nd car in that FIU tandem, so he will not get a lap time in due to the track limits. And Munoz, though, does jump up a couple spots into 11th. A little bit of contact there between the 2 teammates as Louis Diaz now goes flying into the turn 1 barrier, and that's going to do it for the end of qualifying. That's a red flag for contact between the teammates there. It's time to walk through our grid now for the Austrian Grand Prix, and the familiar face on pole position for Muhammad Ali out of Ball State University with a 1:31.847 sets the pole position time, and it was outside as Louis Diaz from Florida International. Cale Davidson in 3rd spot for Ball State University, and our top alumni in the field right now, Thomas Toomey. He's looking to clinch that alumni championship here tonight. Bradley Skinker, the 3rd Ball State car, is in 5th, and Lucas Moody, his teammate, to the outside of him in 6th. Jake Cummings from Wingate University in 7th, and Alex Hallinar in 8th. 9th will be Alexander Diamond from Drexel University, and Christian Hill from Mount St. Mary's rounds out rows 4 and 5 for the alumni. Esteban Munoz from Florida International will start 11th, with Athena Leclerc in 12th for St. Clair College. In 13th, it's Zach Lindler out of Lennar Ryan University. And 14th will be Robert Kiesel Jr., a podium finisher here in the CIL previously. Ricky Pass from Valparaiso will start in 15th. Jason Wallet from Drexel in 16th. Ben Fiore from Morris College will start 17th. Aiken Lamar from Howard Community College in 18th. Nicholas Stockner from Clemson in 19th. For the alumni class. Ethan Decatur, the second Valparaiso car, in 20th. Andrew Burrell in 21st. Timothy Wilms in 22nd. And Ryan Bannon will start 23rd here in the first of two races here from the Red Bull Ring tonight, as we're about to go green here momentarily for our first of two races here in the CIL Formula C Championship. Heath, we're going to have a good race here momentarily.
Indeed we are, as we see people. It looks like we're just missing a couple cars for the grid up. But yeah, it's always, at least Formula 1's always an entertaining race. I don't see why this wouldn't be an entertaining race, especially if anything, what the season has been. It's been some amazing midfield battling, and even up front, we've had some good battling. So I'm hopeful that this race is going to be chaotic, but a safe chaotic and a respectful chaotic, as we're seeing the front row right here of Muhammad Alif and Luis Diaz. So it's going to be a very interesting race, especially going into this first turn, which is a heavy braking zone.
For sure, as our lights are about to come on here. Right now, that's Muhammad Alif in the red car on your right, Louis Diaz in the white and orange car, and it's lights out, and away we go here for the first race at the Red Bull Ring for the Formula C Series. Muhammad Alif gets a good start, jumps out to the lead, and Louis Diaz will tuck in right behind him, up into turn one, heavy braking zone. Watch for chaos here as the drivers try to stream single file as they enter the corner. I think there's contact further back in the pack, as that's Jake Cummings in the Wingate car off the track there, but it looks like they've all single filed out now. And side by side, here comes Cale Davidson for Ball State University, trying to go side by side with Louis Diaz for the second position to make it a Ball State 1-2, and that's Louis Diaz on the inside for FIU, so he's going to try to hold on and defend, and he does a good job, but a good move from Ball State University to get that position back, and they're going to fight it down all the way towards turn 4.
And looks like there may have been some contact back behind, because we did just get the yellow flag, so I'll be curious to see if production team can get that. But as you were saying, this battle for that P2 is very much in play, and I'm not sure if this is a full course yellow or if this is just a station or a sectionary yellow, because if it's full course, it does look like maybe a safety car is out, as everyone does look like they're slowing down a little bit. But there was some very good battling up front, and it does look like Diaz still is currently leading right now with that attempt by Cale Davison, and that front pack is already starting to break away. You look at Muhammad Alif, he's already 2.5 seconds almost ahead, so I think unfortunately that battle may have secured the fate of at least this battle right now.
Yeah, I do think the full course caution is out. We have the yellow flags on our screen at the moment right now, and it does look like the drivers are a bit slower than they normally would be, as our drivers try to catch up to the pace car. And we'll get a replay of that cause the caution here momentarily, as the flagman there is waving the yellow flag. So we're going to go back, get a replay, see what caused this caution.
Yeah, and I'll be very interested to see, is it a, here we go, here's the restart, or not the restart, here's the start. It does look like, try to go 3 wide, and on this track, it is possible. Going into that first turn is tricky going 3 wide. We're sitting down with Zach Linder, who unfortunately has, every time he's raced, unfortunately has had not the best situations, just looks like unfortunate timing for, I'm not 100% sure what car that is, that pink car over there, so unfortunately, Zach Linder did get involved with the contact, and it does look like, fortunately for him, his car is running. It looks like there's even contact up front. I believe that is Aiken Lamar of Howard Community College, and can't tell which car that. I think that's one of the
I think
Drexel
that might
cars.
be Alexander Diamond. Yeah, it looks like Zach Lindler there, an unfortunate bystander in the incident. He was ahead of it, and it looked like a female player got turned right into him. That's the worst feeling when you are pretty much ahead of the cars, and where they're wrecking behind you, and then all of a sudden you're turned and you see contact at the Valparaiso car. Alexander Diamond, that's Alex Hallinar in that green car, and as Hallinar comes back on the track, contact between him and Diamond, and I think they're trying to rejoin the track, and I think they rejoined in an unsafe manner, as we see Jason Wallet, I think, make contact with Aiken Lamar.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I was stating before, that first turn is always one of the most tricky, chaotic turns on this entire track, and exactly what I said happened. Unfortunately, some maybe missing your braking zone because your tires are a little bit cold and your car's a little bit cold. So we are sitting under safety car right now, which could be a blessing for some in the back, could be not so much a blessing for up front. But I think Luis Diaz is going to probably be on his toes, as it does look like Cale Davison might have that pace to pass. And even looking behind, a lot of these drivers are anything for battle. But looking at the timing chart, unfortunately, it does look like a couple of those drivers, looks like all those drivers actually, unfortunately, are in the pits. So hopefully we see them back out in the track.
Yeah, for sure. Drivers currently in the pits include Zach Lindler out of Lennar Rhine University, as well as Aiken Lamar from Howard Community College, Drexel's Alexander Diamond, and Penn College of Technology's Ryan Bannon. And it looks like Nick Stockner has entered the pit lane for Clemson University. Not quite sure if he was involved in some contact, maybe has some front wing damage. Have to get that changed. We see Jason Wallet back there as well, the 76 car from Drexel University, also entering the pits to repair some damage. And yeah, we can see that front wing of Nicholas Stockner is needing some repairs, and he's going to get that front nose cone changed out and hopefully get back in this race while it's still under caution.
Yeah, indeed, and that's the goal. And that's actually exactly like I was saying before. Nick Stockner is one of those people that probably is loving the fact that we're under safety car, because he can get that front fin fixed rather quickly and hopefully not be a lap down. But I'm not sure, depending on how much damage. This is one of these shorter tracks on the network, so anything is possible. As we're seeing Cale Davison trying to keep his tires warm, as the tire warmth, especially on these super slicks, are very important. But I'll be very curious to see, is this going to be an extended safety car, or are we going to get ready to see it in, and we're going to get to see some battling, I would argue, of probably the top four.
Yeah, it does look like the lights are out on that safety car, so we should get going back to green flag racing here after this lap, so only a couple laps under caution, and it is a pretty short track, so I wouldn't expect the safety car to force us to butt up against that 30-minute race timer. So we should be able to get all 15 laps in, no problem around here. But it does mean that there are a couple less opportunities to overtake. You know, you come into this race thinking you have 15 circuits around the track, you know, maybe 2 or 3 overtaking opportunities a lap. Now you kind of cut a couple of those laps off. You know, handful, maybe a dozen, 2 dozen less overtaking opportunities for this first race.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you were saying, this is a rather short track. Like this, theoretically speaking, could be a 15 to 20 minute race without any cautions or safety cars, and that's what you've run in officials for a lot of these series. So a lot of these drivers maybe don't like the fact they're under safety car because they can't find their rhythm, because shorter races are a little bit more difficult to find your rhythm. So as we're getting ready to go around, the last couple corners, that safety car should be coming off shortly, and I'll be rather curious to see who gets a good start. I know Alif, in the couple of races we've seen him with safety car restarts, is pretty good under safety car, but is Luis Diaz going to have that same jump that Cale Davison might have? We're going to have to find out.
Yeah, this will be interesting. It's not every day that you get a safety car restart on a road course race here on iRacing, but today's one of those days as we have our Muhammad Alif from Ball State University leading the pack to green as our pace car gets ready to pull off into pit lane, and it looks like Alif is not going to waste any time, and he's already back to put that foot on the floor, and we are back to green flag racing here at the Red Bull Ring for the first of 2 races in the Formula C series. A great start from Alif. Behind him, Luis Diaz gets a good start as well for the back in the pack right now. Looks like there's some action between Bradley Skinker and a couple of the drivers, as it looks like they're already pulling out of line at the moment, trying to make a move as fast as possible down towards turn 1. No contact from any of the drivers towards the front of the field. There might be a spin in front though, as it looks like there's someone off the track off of turn 1. It looks like it might be Timothy Wilms or definitely a Valparaiso car. We'll have to get more information on that momentarily, but we're fighting up the hill towards turn 3. We see Jake Cummings on your timing tower get past Lucas Mead, but it's frantic action back in the pack.
Yeah, indeed. This is what happens, especially on a track like this, that's short like this. You make some moves, like that beautiful move by Ricky Paz on that Ball State car. So anything is possible, and you do see a battle for P1 here with Lucas Moody. That's Luis Diaz. He had a rather good start, so Armand Hamali is probably feeling that pressure, and I would even argue that Luis Diaz is probably feeling the pressure of that Ball State car of Cale Davison right behind. So this is just spewing up for good battling up front, and I'm looking forward to even looking back here. You see another Ball State car of Lucas Moody in the battle with it's 805. So that's I believe that's Christian Hill.
Yeah, it's Christian Hill out of Mount St. Mary's, racing right now, currently in the 5th position at the moment. But can you hold on from Lucas Moody, and in front of them, that's Jake Cummings, who's in a fight for the Alumni Championship here in the Formula C Series. At the front, though, the front 4 sort of pulled away from the 5th on back right now. The gap from 4th to 5th about 1.2 seconds, but Luis Diaz with a session best 132.339 and chasing down our Muhammad Alif. So Luis Diaz is looking to make a move for the lead, and down out of turn 1, it looks like he might have the opportunity, as he's going to use the slipstream to his advantage and try to make a move going up to turn 3. It's going to be difficult to do with our Muhammad Alif holding the inside line, but can he get the move done around the outside, carry that momentum around, or is he going to try to pull a bit of an over-under here? He can't. It looks like Luis Diaz will have to settle for second position right now, as Cale Davidson might have an opportunity to make a move here, given the momentum swings.
Yeah, and even looking back there, it looks like Thomas Toomey also might be able to take that advantage. And now we're sitting on board with Lucas Moody, and he's going for a move right now on, I believe that is Christian Hill. So these battles are heating up. I know Christian Hill is one of our alumni drivers, so it'll be interesting to see, does this battle commence? Is he going to treat it any differently? As we're looking ahead, it doesn't look like Cale Davidson was able to succeed. It even looks like Thomas Toomey took an advantage of a mistake done by Lucas Diaz, and that's unfortunate, but it looks like Diaz is not giving up on that battle one bit. I know Toomey is coming off of a race win from last week, so he has that confidence boost coming into this race, and he knows how to drive this car. We're coming into some rather fast sectors of the track, so anything is possible, especially on a fast corner like these.
Yeah, typically when you get to turns 9 and 10 here at the Red Bull Ring, you gotta figure it out quick. You can't really go side by side through those last two corners unless you want to lose a ton of time. But up to turn 1, it looks like Louis Diaz almost into the back of Thomas Toomey there, really close to that rear wing. It looks like Cale Davidson ahead of them goes very wide, and that will give Thomas Toomey the opportunity to attack instead of defend from Louis Diaz. But as Louis Diaz is going to try to push this 3 wide, he's looking almost to the outside as they head up to towards turn 3, and late on the brakes, looks like Thomas Toomey is going to try to make a move around the outside of Cale Davidson, and Louis Diaz clobbers over that inside curbing, and Thomas Toomey has a good run on the corner exit. He'll try to make a move around the outside into turn 4.
Yeah, indeed, these battles are going to continue as these guys are starting to find more confidence. It was almost look like Luis Diaz was almost bump drafting, which you can't do in these cars, but it almost looked like with how close he was riding the back of that car. And these battles are kind of, even looking back there, some of these guys are starting to battle, but this 3-way battle right now for second place is just too hard to keep your eyes off of, as Louis Diaz and Cale Davidson are basically on top of each other, and when one person makes a mistake, the other driver that's behind is going to capitalize on it. And it does look like with this battle, Muhammad Leaf is starting to find that gap, so Muhammad Leaf is probably loving the fact that this battle is commencing, and we're getting ready to go into some of the faster turns, so anything is possible through these fast turns as these drivers are finding that pace.
Yeah, and one thing that our drivers have to be careful about are those off tracks. If you get too many off tracks, you will be assessed a penalty by race control, as our Muhammad Ali sets a race best 132.294 lap time. So he's definitely pulling away from these cars behind right now. He's really finding his groove now that the tires are warm. But if you go off the track too many times, you are going to be assessed a penalty, and that will absolutely destroy your race, as it is a drive-through penalty. So you got to be careful, especially in turns 9 and 10, as off tracks are so common. But looks like Louis Diaz is going to look to the outside here again on Cale Davidson, and it's a very tricky spot to do it, but he's going to try to pull the over-under move, and it looks like Louis Diaz out of Florida International gets pretty decent momentum, but Cale Davidson pulls it together on corner exit as well, and he'll steam away here.
Yeah, indeed, that was a very good move by that Ball State car, as now he's starting to look at Thomas Toomey straight ahead of him, and it looks like Louis Diaz is like trying to get back at him and making me eat my words, and these are the battles we love to see on track, because we're another battle. This is P12. This is Bradley Skinker from Ball State University. He is currently going after Andrew Burrell, and they're all right on top of each other. And even right behind him, Ricky Paz is very much on top of. So this is a 3-way battle currently for that, I believe, P10 position, which is the reverse grid. As we are halfway through this race right now, anything is possible. And if you're in this position, you probably are kind of eyeing maybe, hey, I want to be in that front position. As we're seeing Lucas Moody send it on almost send it on Christian Hill, and this battle is going to only just heat up.
Yeah, it looked like Lucas Moody there out of Ball State University was trying to make a move around the outside of Christian Hill in turn 10, or turn 9, I should say. That's a very, very difficult spot to make a move in general, especially around the outside, so opportunistic from the Ball State driver. He's looking around the outside again in turn 1. But that's going to cost him a ton of momentum, as Esteban Munoz, the FIU teammate of Louis Diaz, is now looking to make a move up into the 7th position past Lucas Moody, as his teammate Louis Diaz is fighting Cale Davidson for the 3rd spot right now. Looks like we're almost 3 wide here, heading up to turn 3 between Munoz and Christian Hill. It looks like Hill a little deep into the corner. That's going to give Munoz the opportunity to get on the gas and power past the Mount St. Mary's driver. It looks like they're going to go side by side down towards turn 4. Louis Diaz, though, is looking to make a move as well. FIU drivers in battles up and down the field right now.
Yeah, and these battles are heating up, like you were saying. Here's Esteban Munoz making that move. Oh, Christian Hill makes contact. That's unfortunate for that battle, as that was only heating up. And I'll be curious to see what the stewards call as Christian Hill comes off and almost has an unsafe rejoin. And it does look like Esteban Munoz might have a little bit of damage. It looks like Christian Hill's car is okay, but I'd be curious to see is Munoz going to go right into the pits, because it did look like he had a little bit of damage. But it was an unfortunate move. And we're jumping right to more battles as Bradley Skinker of Ball State University is making a move on that 42 car of Robert Giesel Jr. And these battles are going to be continuing to commence as these cars are starting to get some heat in their tires. And even, unfortunately, it looks like Esteban Munoz is having damage, so it's going to have to follow this battle as Bradley Skinker is making a big move on Ricky Paz.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Turn 4 is probably one of the trouble spots on this track for contact. We see it there all the time. It's an off-camber corner that is very easy to maybe think you can go around the outside, and the track just closes up on you so quickly. That gravel right there on corner exit really prevents that outside driver from backing out of any moves, as Athena Leclerc is going side by side with Robert Giesel Jr. right now for that 7th position. That is FIU versus St. Clair College, as it looks like St. Clair is going to have to defend from Bradley Skinker and Ball State now. She'll have the outside line, which is not typically preferred down into turn 3. Almost contact there, a big dive bomb to the inside there from Bradley Skinker. Forces Leclerc off the track. Not the first time you've heard those words in that corner at this track before, as Leclerc is trying to fight this one back with Bradley Skinker. Is going to be on the outside for turn 4. We saw what happened there last lap between FIU and Mount St. Mary's. Will it happen again here between St. Clair and Ball State? Almost contact there between Ball State and Valparaiso behind. So action up and down this this little pack right now. Looks like nobody wants to hold position. Everybody's fighting.
Yeah, indeed, and especially this being that last race of the season, some of these drivers are probably itching for a couple of those points, as I know there are some heavy couple-point battles, and I was talking to a couple of the drivers, and one of the drivers was saying he's only 2 or 3 points ahead of another driver, so it's very important for battles. As we're looking at this replay between, I believe that's Christian Hill and Esteban Munoz, and I would love to see that again from that. I'd be curious to see, is that net code, or is that going to be actual collision? But we're going to see it from Christian Hill's point of view here, and that's hard to tell. I don't know about you, Matt, but I think that may have been a netcode incident, unfortunately.
It was a spectacular crash, that's for sure, as coming back onto the track, a little sketchy, doing donuts on the exit of the corner. But, yeah, we'll let the stewards decide that one. That's tough because, there was room given. I think maybe, it's hard to tell. It's possible that the FIU car just tracked out wider, thinking that Mount St. Mary's will give them more space. But either way, both their races are now done, as we see Bradley Skinker trying to get past, or I should say defend from Ricky Paz right now for that 10th position, or the 9th position, I should say, excuse me, as these guys are fighting for that 10th position, which is not only the last points paying position, but also that reverse grid pole. As look at that big dive bomb there from Ricky Paz. Ricky Paz is going to spin. He sends it in way too deep there, locked up the rear brakes, clobbered the curb on the inside of turn 4. And send him around as he just... a big spin from behind, as well as Alexander Diamond from Drexel University sees the slow car of Ricky Paz and spins himself. So chaos in turn 4 once again. That's the red-headed stepchild corner of this track, causing trouble everywhere they go.
Yeah, indeed. And the trouble that we're seeing might be also commencing up front for some of these battles between like Robert Giesel Jr.'s and Esteban Munoz, as we just saw swap position. But even looking farther up, we're seeing some of that trouble for looks like Thomas Toomey, as he's got Louis Diaz right on top of him, and even Cale Davis. It's Cale Davison's up there too. So this trouble is going to continue to commence. Maybe if you're Cale Davison, but it does look like we are coming down some of those faster straights. So it does look like Toomey is going to go defensive on Diaz, and Diaz will not be able to make a move. But Cale Davison is getting away a little bit as Diaz goes wide. So I believe that will count as an off track. So they have to watch. I'm not sure if we can see how many exits these drivers have, but I would be curious to see how many exits some of these drivers has, as that is a factor coming into the last half of this race.
Yeah, I'm sure some of these drivers might not want to talk about their X's, but they're definitely playing a big role in this race tonight for sure. Just riding on board with Thomas Toomey coming out of turn 4 there into the blind corner of turn 5. You can just see how difficult it is to find that apex, and then not too early on the throttle, you're going to end up in this gravel on the outside of the track, as it looks like Thomas Toomey is still chasing down Cale Davidson. Another long sweeping left-hander followed by a pretty much nothing turn 8 as they come to towards turn 9, the most difficult corners on the track, some say, as you really got to keep your car underneath you, as battles are commencing further back in the pack. Bradley Skinker is trying to get past Athena Leclerc now.
Yeah, indeed. These battles, as we're getting closer to the end of this race, we only have 3 more laps to go. So Bradley Skinker's probably itching to get up there with his teammates, as it looks like he did think about the move but decided against it, as Athena Leclerc is still currently ahead of him. But these battles are going to heat up even. Looking up ahead a little bit, Cale Davison is starting to put some hot laps in, so the fastest lap of the sector. But right here we do see Bradley Skinker trying to go for a move, and Athena Leclerc is probably not going to allow it. However, we are going into a turn where being in that inside lane like that is a very high advantage. And as I say that, it does look like Bradley Skinker does win out on that battle, and Athena Leclerc may not want that, as it does look like she is right on top of him, getting ready to go into this next rather fast turn that anything is possible. She does go for a move. Is Bradley going to go for defensive? We'll see in a moment.
Yeah, for sure. Getting the momentum using that outside line in turn 1. Unfortunately, cannot get the move done in turn 3, but it looks like she is going to try to use that slipstream to her advantage and make her way down to turn 4. Trying to get past Bradley Skinker right now. St. Clair versus Ball State at the moment. Turn 4 is one of the tricky spots. We've seen multiple incidents here in this race so far at turn 4. For now, though, Bradley Skinker is able to stay ahead. Will Skinker be able to make his way further up the field, put a little bit of a gap between himself and Leclerc? That's what he's going to be trying to do, but it's so difficult around here that with some of these long straightaways that the slipstream effect really kind of pulls the cars behind with you. So you're really going to have to make hay in these middle sectors where it looks like Skinker's done a good job of pulling out about a half-second gap so far.
Yeah, indeed. Looking ahead a little bit, you're speaking of those the drafts there, as we're looking right now. The producer read my mind, looking at Luis Diaz, who is still right on top of Thomas Toomey. And while we were looking away, it does look like Cale Davison was able to get ahead of him. But like you were saying, Matt, this track is very important about that slipstream, especially with how short it is. And you gotta make your moves, because there are opportunities to overtake, but not many, as it's primarily fast turns. So speaking of fast turns, we're going around one right now. It does look like Diaz is not making any mistakes and is still putting that pressure on that University of Virginia car for that 3rd position. But yeah, good.
Yeah, I was going to say, Thomas Toomey, he's probably in the worst spot right now, because being the meat in the sandwich like this is one of the toughest things to do, because you want to attack, you want to get that 2nd place off the car in front, but you have to be careful because you have a car right behind you in Florida International and Louis Diaz who want to pounce on any mistake you make. So if Thomas Toomey tries to make a move on Cale Davison ahead and isn't able to pull it off, I expect to see Louis Diaz swoop in and take advantage of that and put himself up onto the podium positions in this first race.
Yeah, and we're watching this battle. That these are very important points for at least a student for bragging rights at this point, because as we do know, Muhammad Leaf is the champion, but still, 2nd place is not a bad position. A couple of these drivers, I believe, are battling, and I know Thomas Toomey is, I believe, if I'm correctly looking at the results, he is our alum leader, so he's battling between getting that 1st position, as we're seeing. Looks like Diaz is going to try to make a move as Diaz goes defensive going into turn 1, but it does look like Toomey did win that battle, and so fortunate for him, he's going to continue to keep getting those points and continuing to extend his lead.
Yeah, Toomey, a good job defending the inside line in turn 1. Louis Diaz looks to the inside here in turn 3, cannot get the move done, thinks better of it. We'll hold on for maybe one more lap, as we are on the penultimate lap here for the first of 2 races at the CIL Austrian Grand Prix here in the Formula C Championship. Thomas Toomey, I should say, fighting for that alumni championship right now. He needs to finish ahead of Jake Cummings to extend his lead in the standings. So he's in a good spot in the alumni standings currently, and I'm sure he's thinking about that as well. He doesn't want to risk potentially getting involved in a wreck with a student that's going to cost him points in his championship fight with Cummings, as Muhammad Leaf with a commanding 3-second lead right now over his Ball State teammate of Cale Davison and University of Virginia's Thomas Toomey.
And speaking of Thomas Toomey up there, I just pulled up their points. He is currently beating Jake Cummings by 19 points at the moment. So it does look like if he gets a solid points run in this, he will take the alumni championships. But let's get focused back on this race as we are coming around this turn to get the white flag, the penultimate lap. And you're saying Leaf has a 3-second lead, which is a rather large lead on a track like this, but that doesn't mean anything. Mistakes are possible, and we could see a mistake from these front three right here, and that's what Luis Diaz is hoping for as we are coming around this last turn. And it does look like he has gone wide. And speaking of going wide, it does look like Athena Leclerc may have gone a little wide as she is taking the white flag with that battle with the Ball State car right ahead of Bradley Skinker. So we're going into these last laps, and I'm not sure about you, Matt, but do you see anybody making any dive bombs into these last turns?
I'm not sure. I think a dive bomb right now would be too costly. It would cost you too many positions on track that could that could affect your starting position in the second race. So if you're not alongside, it's not really worth a dive bomb. As we see Lucas Moody trying to make a move on Jake Cummings. I'm not sure what this is about. Is Jake Cummings out of fuel? I'm not sure if fuel is a consideration for this race, but Jake Cummings going very slowly on the track right now as Thomas Toomey currently within 3/4 of Cale Davidson at the moment as they come through the final couple of corners now through turn 7. It's going to be Cale Davidson ahead of this battle for the second, third, and fourth spot. But for the first spot, it's the one and only Art Muhammad Alif out of Ball State University. He's done a fantastic job this race to start from pole and pull away from the pack behind and pull a 3-second gap around this very, very short track. But Art Muhammad Alif out of Ball State University rounds the final corner now to take the race victory here at the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. And Cale Davidson, his teammate, will follow him home in second place. And Cale is followed by Thomas Toomey, who sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:31.9 right at the very end as Jake Cummings continues to fall down the order. And I'm not sure why. This could be a strategy decision to potentially make his way over Thomas Toomey in the standings in the second race, knowing that he has to pretty much win and Thomas Toomey has to DNF in order to win the Alumni Championship. And so by starting lower down the field, or finishing lower down the field now, he'll start further up the field in race 2.
Yeah, that's a good point. And speaking of drivers that are going to have a good time to start, it's going to be Robert Kiesel Jr. as he is 10th, so he will get the pole position for the upcoming race. As we're looking at our current pole sitter for this race we just had, Muhammad Alif, who has been a very dominant force this season. This is race win. I think he's won everything, but I believe one or two races. So it's been very impressive, the dominance of such an amazing driver like Muhammad Alif. As we've seen a couple of the drivers come through, it does look like, unfortunately, Christian Hill, after that contact, does end up being almost at the back in 16th position. And it looks like our final drivers get ready to cross the line. So these drivers are going to go into a cool-down warm-up, depending how you see it, just to kind of get their minds fresh, as we do have another 15-lap race. But I don't know about you, Matt, but I think I need a cool-down after all that action in such a great race.
Yeah, very good first race, and a bit interrupted at the start by a safety car due to a bit of a pileup in turn 3 at the top of the hill. But either way, once we got going, things definitely got going for sure, and things heated up, and we saw a lot of good on-track action. We saw a couple incidents between cars. We saw Esteban Munoz and Christian Hill have a spectacular contact in turn 4. A couple other drivers involved in some incidents as well, so I'm sure that will carry over the second race. And we've always seen throughout the season that second race, once you get that top 10 invert, is always much more chaotic.
Indeed it is, and I'm looking at some of the point standings right now, and some of these point standings can get rather chaotic. So I was saying Cale Davidson is very much in a points battle. They're only 24 points ahead of Robert Kiesel Jr., so anything is possible for that second position, but I think we kind of knew coming into this race that it's going to be a little bit of chaos. If anything, the real-life Formula One race has shown to us, but I don't think we quite expected that level of chaos.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, chaos kind of reigns supreme here in the CIL. Lots of races kind of end up in a very similar spot where it's just sometimes you get a couple of drivers out of position, and in making up their positions that they shouldn't be in, they oftentimes get into wrecks. Expect to maybe see some wrecks like that here potentially in turn 1, turn 3, where they're heavy braking zones. Cars kind of they maybe are 2-3 wide entering those corners, and you got to be single file by the time you get to the apex or by the time you get to the exit. So expect for a lot of pinching action to occur at turn 1 and 3 on this first lap for race 2, but it's going to be a good race still.
Yeah, indeed it is. So I'm getting all these messages on Discord. But yeah, like you were saying, it's a good race. And speaking of a good race, here's the first race standings. We got the 2 Ball State drivers up front of Muhammad Alif and Cale Davidson. In P3, we got Thomas Toomey from University of Virginia. P4 was Lucas Diaz from Florida International University. P5 was Lucas Moody from Ball State, and his teammate Bradley Skinker is P6, correction. P7 is Athena Leclerc from St. Clair College. P8 is Jake Cummings from Wingate University. P9 is Andrew Burrow from Clemson University. And our second race pole sitter, Robert Kiesel Jr. from Florida International University. P11 is Ricky Pass from Valparaiso University. And his teammate, Ethan DeClaire, is 12th. 13th is Nick Stockner from Clemson. 14th is Timothy Williams from Drexel University. 15th is Christian Hill from Mount St. Mary's. 16th is Jason Wallet from Drexel. P17 is Esteban Munoz from Florida International University. P18 is Zach Linder from Lamar Rhinett University. We got P19 is Aiken Lamar from Howard Community College. P20 is Alex Hillenar from Birmingham University. P21 is Ben Furey from Marist College. Alexander Diamond is Drexel University. And for 23rd, we got Ryan Bennon from Penn College of Technology.
Yeah, very good race, and I think a couple drivers ruining the mistakes they had in the first race. We saw a spin from Ricky Paz in turn 4, got a little too deep, and trying to avoid a car in front of him, ended up clobbering over those inside curbs and spinning. He finishes in 11th, just one position from that 10th spot, that top 10 invert. Robert Kiesel Jr. is a quick driver. We've seen him finish on the podium before. Unfortunately, not his night. I'm sure he'd prefer to be much closer to the top of the leaderboard. But finishing in 10th in this first race, that's going to give him a great view of the first corner with no cars in front of him to start race 2. As well as Andrew Burrell from Clemson University. He'll be the first alumni in the field, and Jake Cummings in the third position. He'll be the second alumni from Wingate University in the second race. It should be super interesting to watch, see how Jake Cummings plays this second race, because he's going to need a couple things to kind of go his way in order to win that alumni championship.
Yeah, indeed, well, and I'm even curious to see not just the alum drivers, but the student drivers. Like that Cale Davison's P2, it's not a guarantee. If they make a mistake, anything is possible, being that Kiesel Jr.'s, well, not sure weighing at the last race, P10, so I think actually Cale Davison probably has that locked in. But still, anything could possibly happen. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing some of these drivers that are battling for point positions. Because even looking here, I see drivers that are 4, 8, 10 points from each other that if they get that one extra spot, they could possibly push themselves up in the results. So it's going to be very interesting to see, do some of these drivers go more strategic and go, hey, points are points? Are they going to be, hey, I want those extra points to get that next position and those bragging rights going into the offseason?
For sure, as our little warm-up session here is just about come to a close here for between race 1 and race 2, and it's time to take a quick look at the grid here in race 2 as well. As we mentioned before, Robert Kiesel Jr. out of Florida International University will start on the pole position, and to his outside is Andrew Burrell from Clemson University in second. Jake Cummings will be third for Wingate University, with Athena Leclerc in fourth for St. Clair College. Fifth will be Bradley Skinker for Ball State, and his teammate in Lucas Moody in sixth. And Louis Diaz, the second FIU car in the top 10 for the second race, will be in seventh. Thomas Toomey finished on the podium in race 1, will be 8th in race 2. Cale Davison in 9th for Ball State, and Ball State's R. Muhammad Leaf as a, I guess you could call it a reward for winning the first race, gets to start 10th here in the second race.
Yeah, and some of these drivers we've seen up here in the front, so we know some of these guys are rather reliable. But it's going to be interesting. Some of these drivers, there's always going to be drivers in that top 10 that may not have been there before. So it's going to be very interesting to see how some of these drivers handle these pressures. I know I was chatting with Aiken Lamar earlier about a couple of things, and he was saying how when he got pulled for the first position, he was a little squirmy on the wheel. So it's going to be interesting to see, as we do see the red lights come up, and they're going to go off. And here we go.
Oh, a bit of a false start there. False start from Andrew Burrell out of Clemson University. That's going to be a big penalty for him, but it's Robert Kiesel Jr. who gets away well, and behind him it's Andrew Burrell coming down into the first corner right now. Jake Cummings is able to solidify that third position as we hear contact further back. Stockner, Christian Hill, I think, involved in an incident with Munoz, Lindler, Fiore, as well as the yellow flag has come out for contact in turn 1. And I think there's a bit of a pile up there, so we're going to have to get a replay of the action further back in the pack, but in terms of the alumni standings right now, looks like Thomas Toomey got away well, and he doesn't have any damage on him, so that's not what Jake Cummings wanted to see.
Not at all. We're getting some of the live points, and yeah, you were right. Some of these drivers, that's not what he wanted, especially Jake Cummings, as he did only get 36 points from that last race, while Thomas Toomey did get 50. So we're going to watch that replay and see what happens. And unfortunately, like I was saying before, their first turn, it does cause some chaos. As we were sitting on board, I believe that is Christian Hill's car. It is indeed. So he's going to be facing up with Timothy Williams of Drexel. Ooh, Christian Hill just unfortunately missed his braking zone and caused some chaos. So that's unfortunate. He did, and it looks like, unfortunately, other than the driver that he hit, all the drivers were. Ooh, what happened back there? One of the drivers lost it, but fortunately for everyone, it does look like it was minus Zach Linder going into the wall, which he is missing in his entire wheel. It's unfortunate, but looks like everyone was successfully out of that battle or that contest.
Yeah, that might have been a bit premature for the yellow flag there. I'm not quite sure, because it looked like everybody got away well. As Lindler, yeah, unfortunate. He was an innocent bystander in that. I think Christian Hill getting into the back and Nick Stockner kind of packed things up, and I'm surprised the yellow flag came out. Maybe it was for this. Maybe the hit was so hard it registered an automatic yellow flag. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that's just first corner chaos where people are maybe braking a bit early because they're a little cautious. They don't want to get involved in an incident. And oftentimes, if you brake early when people aren't expecting it, that is the cause of a lot of these incidents. So, unfortunate for those drivers involved. I think especially Zach Lindler, he was involved in a race 1 incident as well, and as a result, he's out of this race. Both races tonight. Cale Davidson, we just saw him drop down a couple spots in the timing tower. Not quite sure what that was about, but let's get a replay of that start, though, because we did see a false start from Andrew Burrell. I expect that to be picked up by the stewards, so we'll take a quick look here, heading back onto the race start.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. As we're seeing right now, we're going to be on board with Andrew Burrell, and like I was saying earlier, I wonder if the jitters of being up there got him. Let's watch those lights. Ooh, I don't know. That they might not pick that up, because I don't know how our rules are with CIL, but I know in real life that as long as you don't pass that front line, it's okay. So I'll be very curious to see how our race steward sees it. And we got a restart from on. Here we go again for Andrew Burrell, the onboard. And like I said, I'll be curious to see how does Colin see that. So let's see. I'm not sure about you, Matt, but I think he might get away with it, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. As we're taking a look here, I'm not quite sure. A little slowed down action here of the restart from Andrew Burrell. Unfortunate. I'm pretty sure that would be caught as a false start, but either way, not quite sure. Yeah, that's definitely a false start, I think.
We'll find out shortly, as hopefully Race Control does get us the information. But we are currently under safety car as the first race started, but it does make things interesting for Kiesel Jr., who is in fact in a battle for P2 right now. And he probably would even love to see that. I'm trying to see. Cale Davison is down in P10, so that's what Kiesel Jr. really wants to see, is he is in fact in the battle for second position. But looking down the list, one of the things that as far as Thomas Toomey, I'd not like to see is the fact that Jake Cummings is currently in third position, as Christian Hill is going into the pits. Probably has some sustained damage, unfortunately, and I'll be curious to see, is it repairable, or is he going to park it for the evening?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure the damage he had wasn't too bad, as we see some of his innocent victims in front of him there in the pits as well. I believe there is one more lap to go for this caution period, as we see Christian Hill is out of the car. That driver is no longer in the cockpit, and his race is done. Alexander Diamond came through the pits, repaired some damage, and is back out on track. He didn't drop to the very back of the field, which I'm a little surprised about. Just the way this pit lane works, and depending on how much damage you have, you can, under caution, I think you can make up a little bit of time, so you're not right at the back of the pack. But look at this in the field right now. From 8th to 14th, we got well, not anymore, but we have Ball State all together. We have Valparaiso right next to each other. Makes it interesting to look on the timing tower, and with those teammates all having somewhat similar liveries, it makes it a bit difficult to distinguish them. But one thing that's not difficult to distinguish right now is our leader, Robert Kiesel Jr. out of Florida International University. We see the lights on the pace car are off, which means that he will enter the pits on this lap. So we'll get back to green flag racing momentarily.
Yeah, indeed, Will. And that's one thing a lot of people, I'm not sure how many people are aware of iRacing, but we did just get a new big update. So with a lot of this damage, I'd be very curious to know. I unfortunately haven't had much time to practice and see how the damage works, but I'll be curious to see how much does that damage truly affect these cars, as we did see some rather interesting sparks from Zach Lindler when he crashed earlier. So maybe some of these drivers that were in that collision earlier maybe didn't have that damage, but who knows, as we are getting ready to get ready to come around some of these last final turns. And I'm going to be curious to see, how does Kiesel Jr. get this race started? Is he going to jump like Muhammad Leaf did, or is he going to try to pack that bunch up? And it still does not look like Andrew Burrell may have gotten that penalty assessed, unless it's going to be a time penalty at the end of the race. We'll see, but it's going to stack up to be a rather entertaining, very chaotic final race of the season. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm very much down for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing to note as well is that you cannot serve a penalty under caution. So if for some reason if he does have a drive-through penalty for the false start, that is not something that can be served under caution. It must be served under green flag conditions. But speaking of green flag conditions, it's time we get back to them, as Robert Kiesel Jr. is on the gas quickly as the safety car pulls into the pits, and we are back to green flag racing here from the Red Bull Ring. A good start from our leader of Robert Kiesel Jr. as he makes his way out of the final corner now. Further back in the pack, the action is heating up. Looks like everybody's pretty calm right now into the first corner. Big lock up there from the 42 car of Robert Kiesel Jr. And Andrew Burrell is going to try to pounce on the situation, but so is Jake Cummings, as he's going to go side by side with the 888, who does have a penalty for a false start. So that's unfortunate for the Clemson University driver, as Skinker and Leclerc go side by side into turn 3 as well. But Cummings makes the move for second position on Burrell right now. Skinker able to get past Leclerc as well right now. Thomas Toomey further back behind them, currently in the 6th spot, up two spots actually, I was right the first time, from his starting position. As we head down to turn 4, Leclerc and Skinker side by side once again. We saw them there a lot in race 1, as Burrell had a bit of a lockup in front of them. And it looks like both of them get through there cleanly, as Leclerc leads those two to turn 5.
Yeah, and this is the battling we saw with race 1, so we'll be curious to see how we go, as we are looking at Thomas Toomey, who is the current alumni champion, who is one of his opponents right now into the championship, is up ahead. So he's going to try to pass through Athena Leclerc and Andrew Burrell and hope that he can make up some of those points. It does look like he might be a little bit faster than Athena Leclerc, but isn't quite able to get past them real shortly. But we are coming into sections, as one of the cars, I believe that is Andrew Burrell, is going to be going off, and he probably is going to unfortunately be serving that penalty of that start, or that jump start, as we are seeing a bunch of the cars go around, and it does look like Thomas Toomey made it through, and Jake Cummings is battling for the lead going into turn 1, but it does look like Kiesel Jr. is going to hold that position for the moment. But even looking behind, Toomey is very much on top of Athena Leclerc's car.
Yeah, Toomey knows that he cannot let Jake Cummings get away right now. As it stands, the point battle, Thomas Toomey is still ahead, as we see crazy action further back in the pack, as some of the Ball State cars going side by side. That's 4 Ball State cars all there together. That's Lucas Moody in the blue and white, Skinker in the Maryland scheme, of Leaf in the second to back there of the Ball State cars. But they're all making their way down to turn 4 now. Muhammad Leaf trying to make his way past Skinker, and does so now. As he is going to be late on the brakes into turn 4. Oh, a bit of a dive bomb there, too, from Ricky Paz, making the most of the opportunity to get past Bradley Skinker, as well as Skinker is dropping like a rock through his field now, down 4 spots, while Thomas Toomey, currently sitting in 4th, is up 4 spots, as Skinker and Louis Diaz go side by side in this tricky middle sector, as it looks like Thomas Toomey is about to get past Athena Leclerc.
And pointing out something, I found it rather interesting that all the Ball State drivers seem to be working together, which is a very interesting strategy. But looking ahead at the battle we're currently sitting with, it does look like Thomas Toomey and Athena Leclerc are battling, but Toomey does get ahead, which is a huge move, especially for points. But Athena Leclerc is probably going to try to get ahead of him, but maybe not in these fast ones. Looking even up ahead, it does look like Jake Cummings is very much battling for the lead right now, as we are going into an infamous first corner. But is Kiesel Jr. going to go defensive? We shall see shortly. It does look like that Jake Cummings may have had to slow down, but Kiesel Jr. did go wide, so X's are going to become a factor, as we are just about halfway through this race, and it does look like Jake Cummings had the better exit out of that corner, and even Thomas Toomey has got a better exit than these two battles, as Toomey is already on top of that P1 battle, and things are heating up even right behind us. I believe those are the 2 cars of Ball State of Muhammad Leaf and Lucas Moody.
Yeah, a great move from Jake Cummings there to get past Robert Kiesel Jr., taking advantage of the poor exit and the slipstream to get all the way or get up into the first position by the time they got into turn 3. But now what Jake Cummings has to worry about is just pulling away from this pack behind. We saw Thomas Toomey was probably a bit faster than these drivers in the first race once he got out into clean air. So Thomas Toomey is going to be looking to make a move past Kiesel Jr. as soon as possible, and there he does. Contact between the 2 drivers in turn 5. That is very scary for the University of Virginia driver of Thomas Toomey as they get into turn 6 or turn 7 here as well. Super scary moment there for the 166. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but I'm sure there's nothing from the stewards' point of view that they're going to be too concerned about as they make their way now into the final couple of corners, as Toomey now sets his sights on Jake Cummings in the Alumni Championship.
Yeah, indeed, and it's very interesting seeing 2. Oh, it's a Ball State car wide. It's Lucas Moody. That's very unfortunate for that Ball State driver, as maybe almost joined in as we're jumping on board all over the place as we're seeing Lucas Diaz try to make a move on, I think that's Bradley Skinker going into turn 1, and it looks like he made a beautiful dive bomb, but he goes completely wide, and that's going to be an off track, which is unfortunate as that could add up, but Diaz ultimately gets the position back, and as long as he doesn't reach that infamous, I believe it's 17, he should be okay. And even jumping ahead, we see Kill Davison making a move on Athena Leclerc, going into one of the faster turns on the track, and he makes it look like it's easy. And this action is just heating up as these cars are probably starting to come into their zones where it's very easy to drive. And even looking, we're going to look back on our replay, I believe, of that Lucas Moody move. And, I'm sorry, that Lucas Moody going wide as we're coming into the fast turn. He's got the battles ahead. He may have just underestimated how fast his car really was. Oh, there was contact, I believe. Ooh. Oh,
contact with Athena Leclerc spectacularly sends Lucas Moody over the nose of the St. Clair College driver. Not sure what the stewards will think about that. I'm sure they're taking a very close look right now, but Lucas Moody only down in 10th place, so not too many spots lost for that Ball State driver. But super unfortunate. Definitely not the best way to get around this track. Normally you want to keep all 4 wheels on the ground.
Indeed, especially a track like this where downforce is probably one of the most important things. You don't want to be damaging your front wing, your back wing, any of your wings, even your body work is very important on a track like this. As we're looking ahead a little bit, it does look like our current leader, Jake Cummings, is starting to break away, but right behind that battle, we've got our Muhammad Alif, the Superman, I would almost say, with the fact that he's already up to P4 within a couple laps, and he's battling for 3rd position right now, but that is Kiesel Jr., so Kiesel Jr. is going to probably defend. Is even going back. We have the Lucas Moody and Esteban Munoz going into turn 1, and it looks like Moody may have had a better exit, but Munoz had the advantage of being on the better line and jumping around. My goodness, production's getting me all these battles, and it does look like Jake Cummings and Thomas Toomey made contact, and Muhammad Leaf does in fact get ahead. Now he's in P3, and Muhammad Leaf's got to be loving these battles. And I mean, I'm not sure about you, Matt, but I'm loving this action.
Yeah, we've seen Jake Cummings and Thomas Toomey have some heated battles earlier on in the season. It looks like Muhammad Leaf is looking to the inside of Jake Cummings, an opportunistic move to the inside in turn 4, and it looks like room is given by the 007 cars. It looks like he's slowing down almost, or I'm not sure if there was an off track or what was going on there, but it looks like Jake Cummings, had to give up that fight and relinquish not only the 2nd position to Thomas Toomey, but the 3rd position to Muhammad Alif. So not what the Wingate driver needed to see. He needed to stay ahead of Thomas Toomey, as well as maybe a little bit bad luck for the University of Virginia driver, as it looks like Alif now looking to make his way up into 2nd in turn 9 here. He's going to go side by side with Kiesel Jr. Kiesel Jr. is not giving this one up easily, though, as they make their way into turn 10. Almost contact there between the Wingate. Oh, contact is made between the Ball State and Florida International driver. That's very, very dangerous when you get rear-ended like that, but they're able to keep it on the track, and I'm sure it was accidental. I'm sure our drivers would never do something like that on purpose.
Not at all, and these drivers, as we've talked so many times over and over, these drivers are some of the best collegiate drivers you can see, and they're showing respect. And I mean, even especially an alum driver, I'm sorry, these are student drivers, even more important, student drivers. So many of these drivers are racing for their schools, so they don't want to do any service. As we see Jake Cummings try to make a move, and it does look like that move was not successful, unfortunately, which does make Cale Davison a very favorable question in this battle. I would argue this 4-way battle for P2 right now is anything is possible as the slipstream is important. And Jake Cummings is going for a move, it looks like, but it's going to probably be shut down as it is going into that turn by that 42 car. So that's not the 42 car, but that's going into these moves, and anything is possible, especially a track like this. And looking ahead already, Muhammad Ali already is starting to get a gap, just to show you how talented of a driver he is.
Yeah, I think Muhammad Ali taking advantage of Robert Kiesel Jr. and Jake Cummings fighting this one out through some of the most important corners on this track, as Robert Kiesel Jr. is still defending very well from the Wingate University driver of Cummings behind us. It looks like into turn 9, a bit deeper for the 007 car right now as they exit the final corner. We saw contact with Kiesel on this corner last lap. A little bit of a slow exit from the car in front led to a little bit of contact, but right now Thomas Toomey is loving what he sees. He's got a 1.3 second gap back to Muhammad Ali, as well as a clean track in front of him. So right now Toomey is in the best seat in the house, but for us up here in the booth and you viewers at home, we got the best seat on track right now. As you see an intense battle heating up still between Robert Kiesel Jr. as well as Jake Cummings from Florida International and Wingate respectively, down into turn 3. Looks like side-by-side contact made between Kiesel Jr. and Cummings. It looked like Kiesel Jr. having the inside line kind of squeezed Cummings out a little bit. And look at Cale Davidson now within 5th, is now going to try to move himself up into the 2nd position. Just in a couple of corners here for Ball State.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. These battles are always good, but you don't want to see contact like that because Jake Cummings now has damages. Cale Davison did take advantage. Cale Davison's probably absolutely loving that, but it's very unfortunate as it does look like Jake Cummings has gotten ahead of Cale Davison again, and this battle for, I believe that's going to be, it was going to be P3, is going to continue to heat up. As I bet you these drivers very much want to come up here and chat with us for the last week and maybe get their name ingrained in a position, as Cale Davison is battling for 2nd position. So seeing Kiesel Jr. up ahead is probably getting Cale a little amped up, because that's who Cale is battling at the moment, as we're seeing them starting to go. So Jake Cummings consider a move, but decides against it. But anything is possible. Even looking behind, Lucas Diaz has joined this battle. So it's a 4-way battle for the last position on the podium.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point these drivers are they're definitely fed up with each other. I think we see Kiesel go defensive here, as it looks like Jake Cummings is going to try to look around the outside in turn 1. Will not be successful in doing so, and is going to try to use some momentum to carry himself up this long straightaway, use that slipstream, and make a move in turn 3, where we saw the contact between these two drivers last lap. Cummings is looking to use that slipstream, as it looks like Kiesel Jr. on the racing line right now is going to look defensive. It's going to throw a dummy from Cummings, and Cummings goes way deep into the corner, and a great cutback move from Kiesel Jr. there. It looks like Jake Cummings, he thought he was going to try to go inside there, but way too late on the brakes. A great defensive move there from Kiesel Jr., knowing where to brake, knowing how to position that car. And Cummings now, I'm sure he's seeing a little bit of that red mist at the moment, and he's going to drop a couple positions here to Diaz, or potentially Diaz, and he's definitely lost a spot out to Cale Davidson now.
And speaking of Jake Cummings, I just got word from our statistician that he needs to win this race to have a chance at the Alums Championship. So he may not know that in the car, but if I was his team radio hearing that information, I would be telling him push, push, push. And it does look like all these drivers ahead are hearing that exactly from their race spotters, as we are coming down to the last 4 laps of the season. And things are going to continue to heat up. And even looking ahead a little bit, it's insane how quick Muhammad Ali is, but he's already catching up to our leader, Thomas Toomey. But coming back to this battle, speaking of Ball State, you see Cale Davison, his teammate, maybe go a little wide, but take advantage. And there's contact! Oh my God, there's contact everywhere, and Jake Cummings is probably loving seeing that, because now he's going to be able to take advantage, and even the car behind, Luis Diaz, is taking, as we're going too wide into turn 1. These guys are going crazy for points, as Cale Davison is the one that came out of this, but Jake Cummings and Lucas Diaz is coming, and even the Ball State car right behind it, Bradley Skinker, is getting involved in this battle and this chaos for this last race. I could not ask for anything more, Matt. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like rush hour traffic out there right now, given how close these cars are. You see a big dive bomb coming here from Jake Cummings on Luis Diaz in turn 3. A pretty good move there. He's able to get the momentum off the corner as well to stay side by side with Luis Diaz, but Diaz is going to be tucked underneath that rear wing of Kiesel Jr. in front, using that FIU connection to hopefully stay ahead of the Wingate University driver and Jake Cummings. Down to turn 4, side by side between Diaz and Cummings. Looks like Diaz is able to hold on using that inside line. As this battle, why they were probably about 2 seconds ahead of the cars behind, their battle has really slowed them down and brought a bunch of cars further back into this fight for what is now the 4th position right now And how about this defensive action from Robert Kiesel Jr.? Absolutely spectacular so far. He couldn't hold off Cale Davidson, but he's held off Jake Cummings and Louis Diaz now for the past couple laps.
Yeah, it's an impressive drive by one of our student drivers. I mean, even looking at some of these, I mean, you look, Ball State, FIU. So a lot of these drivers are starting to get battling, and maybe not battling as much as just taking advantage of their teammates and taking that slipstream. And even looking ahead, we're looking at Ball State 1-2 or 2-3 right now, and we're seeing a move by Kiesel Jr. right now, and this four-way battle even for P3 is going to continue to heat up as for fourth. And even more drivers are catching up to these Ball State drivers. And like you were saying, Matt, this looks like rush hour traffic. As we're looking ahead, as Muhammad Ali, I called him the Superman earlier, is going to, as we get a lockup for Thomas Toomey. But Toomey is able to continue to defend that position. But I think, unfortunately, we're putting that flat spot in the car. I think, unfortunately, Muhammad Ali is going to take that victory from Ali from Toomey. And right as I say that, he does take advantage. But Toomey is still standing on top as we are going into one of those corners. And unfortunately, the inside lane, he had to give up, and Thomas Toomey is going to unfortunately lose that lead of the race. But going back to this battle we were watching, Jake Cummings is currently in P7, and Athena Leclerc is going to
be a big spin. Kiesel Jr. spins from the fourth position. He was able to put up a really valiant defense for a long time. It looks like Kiesel Jr. was with Esteban Munoz in the gravel as well as FIU teammate. We'll have to get a replay of that one for sure, but Louis Diaz is able to slip past Jake Cummings, Lucas Moody, all able to slip past Kiesel Jr., who's really been the cork in that bottle for the past couple laps now for that fourth, fifth position fight. So we'll see how this battle develops now that the cork has been released and the champagne is flowing.
Yeah, and that champagne flowing is probably going to be getting ready to shortly flow for Muhammad Ali as he is starting to take a relatively large gap, but it does look like Toomey is not happy with that as he's starting to get time. But coming back to the battle, we're looking more bored right now. We are watching Muhammad Ali's teammates, Bradley Skinker from Ball State University, go on to turn one from Athena Leclerc. And even looking ahead, we got another Ball State battle with Jake Cummings, and that is going to be Lucas Moody as these battles are commencing. And Jake Cummings is going to go defensive, and Athena Leclerc is going to make a move. He's trying to go three wide as Jake Cummings does back off, and that Ball State car of Lucas Moody is going to join this battle, and we got a two-way battle right now from Ball State's alone to go into. That's going to be your fifth position, and things are only heating up. And unfortunately, I wonder if Jake Cummings back there may have had a little bit of damage as he is falling back a little bit. But despite that, we are seeing these Ball State cars go after the St. Clair car of Athena Leclerc. And even looking back up at the battle, we see Thomas Toomey and Muhammad Ali going at it hand in hand, and I think Thomas Toomey wants that double victory tonight. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, Thomas Toomey relinquished the lead a couple laps ago in turn 4, but he's been fighting this one back. He's been kind of following Muhammad Ali for a couple laps now, trying to get his breaking points, find out where he's strong, where he's weak, and we're coming down to the final lap now. One more lap to go in this spectacular CIL season, and Muhammad Ali has to defend for only about 2 more miles, but a bit of a mistake there from Thomas Toomey in the penultimate corner. Gave Alif a bit of breathing room as we have one more lap to go here at the Red Bull Ring, one more lap to go here in the CIL Formula C season. Who will come out on top here in this last race? Muhammad Ali has done a good job so far fighting to get past Thomas Toomey, but Toomey is going to be looking to make another move here to get back on that top step of the podium. Further back in the pack, Bradley Skinker and Athena Leclerc are both fighting right now for the 6th position, but we want to keep you on board with this race for the lead. Looks like Thomas Toomey looks inside, he looks outside, he's not able to get past Muhammad Ali this corner. He only has a few more chances now. He's trying to use as much momentum as he can off corner 3 to get himself side by side into turn 4. It's going to be difficult to do. 2/10 back, he's really going to have to send it in there to make a move for the win.
Yeah, indeed he is, especially a driver like Muhammad Ali, who is relatively good by defending and things like that. I don't see it happening, unfortunately. But Thomas Toomey could prove me wrong, as he has proved me wrong in the past. So I'm excited to see as we're coming in some of these fast turns. He is still standing right on top of him, and that just shows to me that Thomas Toomey is one of the better drivers in this field. Not saying these drivers are bad, but he has proven himself so many times, and even somebody like Muhammad Ali, it's a challenge to race this closely with. So it's very interesting to see, and as we're coming around some of the last corners, it's been a very phenomenal season with Alif driving up front, and even Thomas Toomey, so anything is possible as we're going around the last couple of corners, and Toomey goes way wide, but it looks like our Muhammad Alif is going to suffice, and he is going to take the win at Austria in this racetrack, and that is confirmed. And Thomas Toomey is going to be P2, and then Cale Davison is going to be coming around that last corner shortly, and there it is. Cale Davison is going to take the 3rd position.
Yeah, coming across the line now to take home the couple more spots right now. Ball State's Lucas Moody comes home in 5th. St. Clair's Athena Leclerc will be 6th. We saw a great 3-wide move out of her earlier on. Esteban Munoz in 8th. 9th will be Robert Kiesel Jr. 10th will be Jake Cummings. After a spectacular fight to the line, it looks like only the gap about 1/10 of a second between 9th and 10th. Ricky Paz will take 11th for Valparaiso. Skinker in 12th for Ball State University. Howard Community College's Aiken Lamar will be 13th. Ben Fiore, Drexel University's Alexander Diamond. Andrew Burrell and Timothy Williams are all still on track, crossing the line now as we wrap up a spectacular Formula C season. Absolutely incredible to watch. Fights up and down the field in that second race. Chaos, really, to figure out who was going to come out on top in any of those battles, because it was changing lap after lap.
Yeah, indeed, and I don't know about you, but I think that is the way you end the season. I know Cup had a very good battle as I was on board behind the scenes, but I think that rivals some of the best racing we've had all season, and I think that was a very well-deserved win by Muhammad Alif, and even race 2 was a very well-deserved win, so I would like to applaud all of these drivers, especially this week, because we are getting down to those critical final weeks for a lot of these drivers, so I applaud all these drivers for coming out, even the whole season. I'm not sure about you, Matt, but I think that was one of the more entertaining seasons we've had at CIL, especially for these cars.
Yeah, it's been a spectacular season. We've had super quick drivers show up every week. We've had Muhammad Alif, Thomas Toomey, Lucas Moody. We've had tons of podium sitters, people who maybe were not expected to sit on the podium, people, inaugural podiums, and I think this season, all in all, has been spectacular to watch, and it's just been capped off by spectacular races. We see the Ball State drivers of Alif, Davidson, as well as, I believe that's, I want to say Lucas Moody with them there as well, all doing their little end-of-year donuts to celebrate a spectacular season as Bradley Skinker joins them now. Missing a rear wing, so not quite sure what happened to him, but that's Ball State will be your school champion for the student side. Still calculating things on the alumni side, so we'll get to that to you as soon as we do. But just to recap, Ball State University, your school champions, with Muhammad Alif leading the way as the student driver champion. On the alumni side, the driver champion for sure is Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia, as we are still calculating the alumni school points.
Yeah, at the moment we're still waiting on some decisions from the stewards, and anything is possible. But you know what is possible? We can pull some of our race victors into the booth if you're ready, Matt.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting for a couple people to get into the waiting room. I think we got to get Cale Davison in here. He finished in the 3rd position in race 1. We'll see if we can give him a gentle reminder.
I believe he is down there. Would you like me to bring him up, Matt?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hear from our 3rd place finisher in race 1. It is Cale Davidson out of Ball State University. Cale, do you got a copy?
I do.
Well, Cale, congratulations on a very successful race here tonight. I believe you were 2nd in race 2 and 3rd in race, or excuse me, 2nd in race 1 and 3rd in race 2. So we saw you kind of make your way through the field, and you were held up a bit by Robert Kiesel Jr. in that race. And tell us about that fight with him.
Yeah, I've had a couple instances being held up by him, and I know for some of the times it doesn't necessarily always end that well. And especially when I was running with Jake Cummings, I know I can race super well with him, so I was kind of scared going into that. So because I knew I needed to get past Robert to kind of hopefully catch back up to the front of the pack, but obviously trying to get past 2 cars at once was kind of hard because I knew even if I got past Jake, I wasn't getting around Robert. And then I saw him kind of make a mistake coming off the corner before the last 2, and I honestly did not want to be on the outside going into both of those corners, but that's kind of where I ended up, and I gave him plenty of room. I went off track and he still hit me going in the last corner, but I had a better run, so I was able to take that.
Yeah, so what's the mindset, especially coming into these races? I mean, all season, when you win the race, what's that mindset switch when you go back in the back of, the back of the pack, and hey, we're starting from the back. You have such a talented team there, but what is that mindset, especially a race like this where you guys are packed up? How do you race against your teammates? Do you take advantage of them, or do you just say all for themselves?
It kind of depends on the track, but for the most part, it's kind of all for ourselves. And I think you could see that one portion where we were literally like I think 8, 9, 10th, and 7th or so. Like we were all four together going into the I think turn 3 after the straightaway, and they were trying to swap positions around, and it just kind of became a jumble going into that corner, and I kind of got the last leg of the straw there and got passed by Ricky Paz and ended up farther back, but we just kind of worked our way up from that.
Well, Kale, once again, congratulations on the third place finish. It was a super interesting race and a lot of action going on up and down the field, and it was fun to watch. But I'm sure you've been up here in this booth enough times to know what the drill is at this point. So before we send you on your way this evening for one final time this season, anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast?
Yeah, so I want to shout out basically my teammates. So Lucas, Bradley, Alif, and then obviously our esports director, Dan Marino. But I mean, obviously, big props to Alif because he's taught me so much this year. But then I also want to give a shout out to Thomas because technically, like we've been, even though for overall points, we've been battling, we've been passing each other week after week. And between Thomas and I, when we actually do get going, like we race so clean between each other, and it's just super respectable. So I really like the way that he drives. So he deserves that, and I'm happy for him because I'm pretty sure after this he got that P2 in overall. And obviously, shout out to my mom, and then shout out the whole production crew for putting this on for us.
Well,
Awesome.
yeah, awesome, Kale. Once again, congratulations on the third place finish, second and third place finishes in the two races tonight. It's been fun watching you race this season, and we hope to see you again next season, man.
Indeed.
Awesome. Well, that was Kale Davidson out of Ball State University, third place overall finisher, I believe second place in the student points behind his Ball State teammate. So a very, very successful season for that Cardinal out of Ball State. But I think we want to hear from the driver he mentioned just a few moments ago. That's the alumni driver, Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia. Thomas, you got a copy?
I'm here.
Well, Thomas, congratulations. A very, very entertaining race between you and Alif. But I think the big thing that we were all focused on were the alumni points. And I think it is confirmed that you are the alumni champion here in the CIL this season. So how does it feel to be a champion?
It feels good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it at the end. I wanted to race for it. I know I could have just sat behind, but I tried to push and give it my all, but he was definitely a lot faster. And by the time he caught up to me, his tires were much better. And yeah, I think my fate was sealed. But I think everything went well for me this race and both races. I stayed out of incidents and was able to pass cars and I guess keep my car on track. A few mistakes, but thankfully it didn't cost me too much. But yeah, I think just consistent results got me the championship in the end, and yeah, a few lucky races here and there as well. Never hurts.
Yeah, lucky races do help, and I know we're still kind of calculating the points, but it is looking like you may have helped your team win the alumni championship in regards to the school. So, with the thought process of that, are you looking to come back and defend your title next season and defend the title for the school, or you're going to call it quits first season? I know we're coming into some fun times, so.
Yeah, no, I think I'll still continue to race, whether or not I'll be in the championship or not, depending on how many races I can make and stuff. Is who knows? With the schedule being so far away, but yeah, I really enjoyed the races this season, and it was really I think a season of clean racing up front. I think although there was a lot of battles and a lot of hard practice from some drivers who were very quick. But I think in the end, like racecraft definitely always takes precedent in these events with the type of points it is with the F1 style. But yeah, thank you to everyone and to the CIL for putting on such a good schedule.
Well, Thomas, it was super fun watching you race this season. I think we saw a lot of different moments this season, which provided a lot of entertainment, a lot of flash points between you and other drivers, and all in all, it came out with a championship in the end. But I'm sure you know the drill by now. Anybody want to thank or shout out on the broadcast this evening who makes it possible?
Yeah, I just want to shout out to Orangeville Racing for the team. Appreciate it for everyone helping me out, get up to speed sometimes when I'm not able to practice, and big thank you to the broadcasters for providing good coverage every week that I can kind of go back and kind of relive some of the races.
Awesome. Well, thank you for racing with us. Looking forward to seeing you in the track next season.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, and once again, that was Thomas Toomey out of the University of Virginia, winning the Alumni Driver and School Championship tonight for that organization. All in all, a great race. We are getting confirmation from the stewards, obviously, with the finishing order. Alumni School Championship, Virginia #1, #2 goes to Wingate University and Jake Cummings, and then third will be Clemson. A great fight for the alumni school championship, but I think the driver we all want to talk to right now is our student drivers champion, R. Muhammad Alif. Alif, congratulations on a great way to end the season, 2 race victories, a good way to bounce back after last week. How was that fight with Thomas Toomey in that second race, though?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it's just great fight. We kept it, I think, on the line, so that was good. I was kind of aware of like the championship permutations between Thomas and Kale, but I didn't, I made sure not to like do anything cheeky, and we raced clean. And yeah, I really just wanted to win, so set myself up for that good move around the outside through 3 and 4, and yeah, got away with the double win, pole position. Yeah, feels good.
So as the season does come to a close, and we've had some honestly amazing races between you and other drivers, and even your dominance, looking forward to the next season, what would you have to say to both your teammates, maybe future teammates, and anybody that wants to join the league? What would you tell them about this league, and how would you promote the league to the rest of the world?
Honestly, this league is shows the best of collegiate road drivers and the oval drivers in the Cup Series, and yeah, urge whoever's watching, whoever's going to be enrolled in college to head over. I think all the organizers, all the drivers are very accommodating and welcoming. I think that's one of the main things that I personally experienced. And yeah, a bunch of good racing, get to learn a lot from different drivers, and I think most importantly, just have a lot of fun. I think that's what it is, and yeah, great broadcast as well. So you guys get to watch your own self on YouTube, which is pretty cool, I'd say.
Yeah, well, Alif, congratulations once again on the 2 race victories tonight. Super fun watching your race. It definitely wasn't easy out there. We saw how close that fight was with Thomas earlier. But before we send you on your way, as you know, as it is a CIL tradition, anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast this evening before we let you go?
Oh yeah, my teammates, Kale, who's chugging Red Bull now, Lucas, and yeah, we did a tradition because we were running a Red Bull ring. We chugged a bunch of Red Bull, but yeah, Kale, Bradley, Lucas, they all helped to clinch the teams or collegiate championship as well. So big ups to them, the whole racing team, which includes all our oval drivers. You got Kelton, Ben, Andrew, and our esports directors, who are the people responsible behind all the success, who's Dan and BK, and our Dean Turner, for even getting all this set up for us. So I think bigger shout out goes out to them and the whole program. My family in Singapore is also watching. Shout out to them, and all my friends as well who are tuned in. So thank you very much, and to you guys as well for on the broadcast booth. So looking forward to the next season using the GTP cars, and yeah, it's gonna be very fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Alif, congratulations once again. It's been an absolutely fantastic season, and we obviously hope to hear from you again in the new season sometime soon, man.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right. Well, once again, that was R. Muhammad Alif out of Ball State University. A great job out of him to clinch the student championship. A couple of races early, but still always good to hear from him, as he's a regular up here on the podium. And congratulations once again to Ball State University clinching the championship in the school standings.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking of school standings, as of the moment, now keep in mind these are still being calculated. We know for a fact that Ball State has indeed clinched the championships in regards to students. But again, keep in mind these are still being calculated. It does look like Florida International University has taken second and Valparaiso has taken third. So we're still waiting on final results, but it does also look like, now I'm looking at it again, Valparaiso did tie with St. Clair College. So it's very interesting to see how that tiebreaker kicks in. But that's the students. That's how it lays out. Again, we're still calculating. That's not finalized. That's as of the moment. And then in regards to the University of Virginia we have confirmed that they are in fact the alum champions. But it does look like Wingate is going to be second position, and then Clemson is going to take third. So we've seen some very good battles, and like I was saying, even with those championship points, we've had very, very close battles. And I'm not sure about you, Matt, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to close a chapter on this, but I think we're going to have to, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of closing chapters, I think provisionally right now it is St. Clair College in the third spot for the school standings. On countback, St. Clair College had more second place finishes, no first place finishes between Valparaiso and St. Clair, but St. Clair did have more second place finishes than Valparaiso, and as a result, they'll be given the P3 in the school standing. So that's provisional. Obviously, it can all change, but a big congratulations to all our drivers and all our participants this year. A super fun season. I'm looking forward to next season, obviously, already. I'm planning it, getting ready, getting hyped to see can Muhammad Leaf defend his crown, defend his title. Will there be newcomers? How will people develop and improve over the offseason? It's too much to think about. I just can't wait to get started next year.
Yeah, indeed, same thing for me, and I'm even more excited. For those who are not aware, we are actually going to be opening up another league within CIL. I'm very excited for it. We are going to be running the GTPs next season, so a little bit more of the prototype cars on top of our already popular Oval Series and F4 cars. So we're going to see a lot more action from us, and as we're going into the winter season with the holidays and everything like that, the fun of final seasons, which I have next week, we're going to be seeing some of these drivers maybe returning to the track, maybe stepping back and enjoying the holidays and getting prepared for next season. As believe it or not, it's the next season is going to be right around the corner. As you know, the summer or the winters never seems to be slow. So, but I'm very much look forward, like Matt said, and things are only going to be heating up as we get more and more talented drivers joining us on the track.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you mentioned closing chapters, and I think it's just about time we close the chapter on the CIL Season 9. It's been a fantastic season with both College Cup Series as well as the Formula C Series. Congratulations to all our champions in both the Cup and Formula C Series. R. Muhammad Leaf, Thomas Toomey, Jake Cummings, the Alumni Cup champion, and then Matthew Morton, the Student Cup champion. Big congratulations to all of them once again. And obviously, we want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to a fantastic season of racing on oval and road. With this entire production and entire league wouldn't be possible without your viewership and your support. So thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, on behalf of everyone here at the CIL, myself, Keith Brubaker, we want to thank you guys for tuning in and making this production possible. We look forward to these races every single week, and it's been our pleasure to bring them to you. So I think that's going to about wrap us up here at the CIL. So be sure to tune in next season starting in January. Days TBD, so be sure to follow CIL social channels, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to make sure you're caught up on all the latest CIL action. And as always, stay fast.